Adequate notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. The notice has been posted in the Board of Education office, F.L.A. Jacobson School Building, in the Long Beach Island Grade School Building. The notice was also mailed to the Press of Atlantic City, the Asbury Park Press, and filed with the municipal clerks of Barnegat Lake, Harvey Cedar, Surf City, Ship Bottom, Long Beach Township. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Here.
Present.
Mrs. Romero? Here. Mrs. Raver? Mrs. Southwick? Here. Mrs. Wasilewski? Here. Mrs. Bott? Here. Mr. Donahoe?
Here. Public comment is item number 4. Board policy 1120 encourages community participation in every meeting. However, the board requests the following from the public: state your name and address, direct all concerns to the president, limit speaking time to 5 minutes. Use of any pupil or staff member's name is not permitted. Any public comments? Okay, we'll move to number 5, committee reports. The Ad Hoc, Referendum Ad Hoc Committee report from October 30th. I guess I will speak to that one. I think what I will do is just read the minutes, because I'm going to read the minutes. Am I allowed to just do that as my report? Yeah? Thanks. Thank you. So here's who was at the meeting. Mayor Mancini from Long Beach Township, Commissioner Joseph Patanzi, also LBT, Mayor Hodgson, Councilman William Hodgson, Councilman Scott Sharpless, he was from BL, Mayor Holzenbach, Mayor Oldham, I was there, Alan was there, Alan Kane, Colette Southwick, Bonnie Picaro, Peter Kopak, and Megan Galley. Those were the people who were there. Mr. Donahoe stated that the reason for the meeting was to come together in good faith, look for common ground, and hopefully the beginnings of a way forward. BOE ad hoc committee members listened to and got opinions from the mayors and councilmen on moving forward following the defeat of the referendum. The ad hoc committee will report back to the full board. Mayors and councilmen agreed to the following. They want the best facilities possible for the for the children of Long Beach Island. They feel the LBI BOA should keep both schools. They do not approve of the board selling district assets. They do not support choice, and they would like it discontinued. They recommend complete structural repairs to the LBI grade school immediately. A deep distrust of the LBI BOE has developed over many years. The LBI Board of Education is not transparent. They dislike and distrust the board attorney and architect. Attorney and architect costs are too high. There is no support for a one-school solution at this time, possibly revisit in a few years. The LBI BOA should assess architectural and structural needs of both schools and convey the cost of the upgrades to mayors for review and endorsement. The LBI BOE should assess educational needs of students and convey costs to mayors for review and endorsement. The LBI BOE should resolve the Tidelands issue. They support home rule, which means they support the wishes of the towns that are home to the school properties. They will support funding to pay for essentials via referendum or budget increases. They would like to meet more often with the board for updates and also to rebuild trust between town officials and the BOE. At the conclusion of the meeting, Mayor Holzenbach asked, before we go, can we all agree that this was a really good meeting? The next meeting with the mayors will be scheduled in December. The meeting concluded at 6:30 p.m. That's the report from the ad hoc committee that met October 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's discuss.
I have a point.
Go.
In regard to the school choice, they don't like it. They'd like to see it discontinued, but I truly do not think they understand it. In the paper, there was an ad that indicated that how much money the Board of Ed expends for the choice program. We don't. We get money in. It doesn't cost us anything. Megan, am I saying the truth on that?
That's correct.
But that misunderstanding constantly
It's like a
up.
myth that constantly,
Yeah.
I know it goes around in Surf City.
Is there a way to get something from the state?
Taxpayer meetings, we got that, when we presented the referendum about the taxpayer meetings,
Yeah.
also every single one of them.
Yeah,
And we tried to explain it in all different ways, but it doesn't cost us.
When that program is administered correctly, it doesn't cost us anything, it just brings revenue in. Therefore, the cost per pupil that we're always getting hammered on is lower because you have more students to divide the number, because that's basically what the cost per pupil is. If you have a small population, you have a higher cost per pupil.
Yep.
So
should get that, and then the state will probably write it in some indecipherable way, so we should create a simple
Yeah, but if they don't believe what we're saying, and they
Right.
don't believe our formula, and they wanna believe the formula on how to calculate the student cost, it's not how you calculate their cost, because
Right.
they're not costing us. So isn't there something from the state that states like
How choice works.
How choice works, so that we
Yeah.
can say, here, listen, this is how it works.
Yeah.
The state has a pretty user-friendly choice website that explains the process and how funding is calculated on the website. And it's maybe 4 pages long. It's not very in-depth, and it's pretty easy to follow.
It'd be nice if we could just say it in 3 sentences.
I think one of the things I think she's sort of said, pointed out that this board said at one point that we would work to do away with choice. That was a while ago. And we did say it. We would look at it and gave the impression that we would do that.
I thought we were gonna pass it.
But then we capped it. We didn't continue to work on trying to eliminate from the bottom up. We capped it because we realized that this is a lot of money. And so that's part of this distrust thing, that we led them to believe that we would do it, then we must have come back and looked at it and said, we'd be crazy to do this. But I agree with what Alan is saying, that, and if we're gonna have some meetings and try to have a dialogue between the mayors, that is something that we need to work on, and either we need to figure out how to get more money in. If we are going to do away with choice, how do we get more money in? How do we, which we could always put more money into the district,
Yeah.
but that's something that can be looked at down the road.
Well, separate and apart from whatever the confusion is about the money and the money in, money out, there was also that sense that I heard from that meeting that they wanted, they feel that choice just adds students when, is the population dwindling, then just let it dwindle and let it be just LBI students. That was another thing. Go ahead.
I actually think part of the problem with the choice program to the public is that there are so many choice students in certain grades.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been monitored now the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But it was really never monitored before. And it was a money bag,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
it is. And I think that's the thing, we have to keep it at 2 or 3 per grade, and that's it.
Yep.
Not that we have these huge numbers, like in one class, I think there's 9 students.
Right.
That are not from here. That's resentful, I think, for the public,
So if we maintain the cap and we explain the numbers, then we should be able to put this behind
as
us.
long as we keep them low.
Right, the cap.
Yep.
Well, I think we developed a policy to address that exact issue. On how many students per grade, how many percentage of students per grade, percentage of students in the overall.
You're saying we developed, or we should develop?
We did.
That's what I thought. We have it, yeah,
We did,
yeah.
yes.
When we started with the cap.
Honestly, we just went through the whole policy book. Peter, help me out here.
I don't think we have a policy.
It's not in numbers. The policy does not have numbers.
No, we can revisit it.
What do you mean, it doesn't have a cap?
It
Percentage.
just indicates that we do have the choice program,
Right.
but it's not, the policy does not state as Georgine just stated.
But you guys all just said that the board made a choice to cap it at some point, so whether it's in the policy book, it's.
It was verbal.
Right.
It was a verbal thing that was talked about that we wanted to have, no more than 4 or 5 per grade level.
Right.
And when those numbers come up, it's usually brought to us as, there's a 6th person.
So we should just fine tune it and then make it all public. Or, just, when we get, like you said, that letter from the state.
It is public.
No, I know, but I'm saying we could have a packet of information that we can refer to so that we don't constantly have this conversation every 2 minutes about choice.
Well, I don't, but what happens is we have, and you can maybe help me if I'm not understanding correctly, we have 8 people in 6th grade that are graduating in their choice. Now, for the following year, we now have 8 seats available
Mhm.
throughout the district. So they could go to 3rd, they could go to 4th, they could go to 5th,
Wherever.
they could go wherever. But the problem is, most 4th, 5th,
That's not correct.
that's not correct?
You have a profile every year that you complete.
Okay.
And the profile, if you have 6 that leave, your profile then will show 8 that leave at 6, you would have 8 vacancies in 6th grade. You have to change your profile.
And then we change the code. And
So
that's, okay.
if you want to reduce
your number of seats available in every grade, you have to reduce the number of seats to the district.
Okay.
You only have, kindergarten through sixth grade, so you have 42 seats. You inevitably will end up with 6 or 7 children choice in every grade, because you only have 7 grades and you have 42 seats. So inevitably, you're gonna end up with those kind of numbers unless you reduce your number of seats. So your number of seats, and you can't, that's not a policy, that's your profile that you submit to the state every summer. You submit how many seats you want in your district, which is going for the following year. So right now, what you're going to be working on is right, it's going to be your 19-20 year. Your other year is already done, your profile has already been sent in. And you then will say how many seats you want. Do you want 42, do you want 40, do you want 12, do you want 0, do you want, the board establishes the number of seats of choice that you want. You establish that, and once you establish, and if you do not, decide to up it that year, you lose those seats. You do not get those seats back. That might have been a hesitation from the board from year to year, deciding, well, maybe we don't want to fiscally, we want to keep it. I don't know, I wasn't here, but once you do decide to reduce your seats, you've reduced your seats, and they're gone. But inevitably, as I said before, you have 42 seats and you only have so many grades. You are going to end up with so many children in each of those grades. If you want to reduce that, you have to reduce your total number of seats.
And then we also have the facility thing.
And that,
So that has to be taken.
The sibling doesn't count as a choice student?
yes, they get preference, but they can't exceed the number of seats. So Marilyn, to your point, if you have, let's just leave it at our 42 seats, and you filled them all and you have a sibling, you still can't exceed, you go to 43. The child goes into the waiting,
Right.
and what happens with a sibling is they get preference over other children.
Right.
Before, but they still can't exceed your 42. So that's a case where they will get preference, but they still can't exceed the maximum number of seats that the district has allowed for its
And
choice.
that's what I'm saying. Normally when we look at it for the next year, the choice students would be first. Not the choice.
The siblings,
The siblings would be
absolutely,
first.
yes.
And then you would
Yes.
accept the other students.
And the other number, just for clarification, just as a point of clarification, which this has come up at meetings where the choice number has changed, and board members have noticed a change in the mid-year and not understood it because it's not understandable to the naked eye. A choice number will come up during the year in a grade, and it's considered an unfunded choice. It's where our number might exceed our choice. What an unfunded choice student is a student who leaves the district during the school year. The state provides for that family to opt to remain in the district for the remainder of this year. By law, the district has to allow that child to remain in the district if the parents choose. So in other words, if they move from district and they choose to keep their child, they want them to continue through the year for continuity or whatever purpose, they are allowed to stay in this district. That child is then moved, they're no longer a resident, so the clarification or the categorization that the state uses is unfunded choice. They then get added to our choice numbers, but they are not true choice, and we're not getting money, but for the remainder of the year, they are considered a choice. They're unfunded, we do not receive money, but it's a benefit that the state allows a family once they move out, that if they want their child to complete their year, only the year, the current year they are in, they can complete that year.
Now, Megan, it's there, because we used to put a policy in where if the child moved out in May, they could stay, and then we bumped it up to April, they could stay. Now, this is any time of the year?
Yes, this is the state
This
law.
is totally different.
But choice students don't live here anyway.
No, I'm not talking about what he's talking
It's like
about.
I moved to Beach Haven,
Yeah,
and I say, next year my kids are gonna go to Beach
yeah,
Haven.
but I thought we were talking about choice students.
But maybe
But
they
this is
talk
choice.
about
It is
the numbers
choice.
in the unfunded. If
But
someone
this is
moves
choice,
out of the
though, James.
district-
You mean someone who once lived in Ship Bottom? and
Yes.
moves- Okay.
And what I was trying to say is, we used to have in the policy, May, and they could stay for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
April, and we moved it, because,
But
heartbreaking cases. But
Yeah.
I didn't realize the state has actually interceded At what point of any part of the year?
Yes.
So they could move.
In
here?
October, and
Okay.
they can opt to allow their child or request that their child remain in district as an unfunded choice
Okay.
child. Only for the year that they're in.
We don't have to provide transportation, correct? Is it that?
Well, no, they're treated just as a choice child. That's why, how the state did that. So now the resident district, you know, for just purposes of the explanation, they moved to Stafford. Stafford then would provide the transportation as the choice, but it's an unfunded choice. I just am explaining that why the numbers some month may change where you say, well, last month we only had 8 children in 5th grade. Why do we have 9 this month? Well, because a 5th grader moved, but they've opted to keep them in here. So our number went up to 9. It's not that we just took somebody in without running it past everybody on a high number. I just want the benefit of the explanation so the board fully understands why some of these grade levels, that number might go up by 1 or 2 or any number that the law says you have to necessarily.
So that means our cap would be exceeded for that year.
Well, because that's not your true choice. Like I said, that's unfunded choice. It's not your cap. Your cap is what we allow to take choice. We are not taking that person. The state is saying they can continue to allow their child to attend here. We are not taking choice students. They are continuing their run through the district that year.
But our cap is still gonna remain at what it was at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
On to the rest of this meeting, I want to, because the choice is about money. And I think that we have to look at what the biggest issue that the mayors all decided on, and that was that we abandoned the one school concept and we restore both schools and we continue with both schools. And, you know, we talked about, do they understand choice, the money that it brings in and so on. And at that meeting, they were most insistent that they would support us to repair these schools, to bring them both up to whatever we felt needed to be done to them. And they also wanted to know what else we needed to make this a top-notch school. That's money. That's a lot of money. I don't know that they, I don't think they have any idea what amount of money we would be looking at. I don't think anybody on this board actually has a true number. So, you know, we're talking about choice and the amount of money, and they're saying, you know, do away with it. I think that, first of all, this board has to make a decision. Are we going to do this? Are we going to agree that we will focus on 2 schools, get this together, and move in that direction? That would, in different meetings, once we get these figures, if we go in that direction, they may look at these numbers and they may say, all right, well, keep choice for a while. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that it is a big number. It does support us, and it does help the district. But I think the bigger issue this board has to look at right now is, are we going to agree that we need to abandon the one school concept and do the 2 schools and get on with it?
Well, that's the conversation. Go ahead.
I think the main thing that has to be done first, because the major question is the condition of the LBI school, which we all kind of have an idea of what the condition is, but until we bring the proper people in to look at that school and to give us a number, which I think will be shocking, I think that's what we have to address first.
Yeah.
Once that's addressed, then we can sit as a group and make a decision. Can we really afford to do this, or do we have to go back to the one school concept?
Yeah. I think the general opinion from those folks at that meeting was that there's no way on God's green earth some language like that was used. That that even, that fixing up the two schools could possibly, I'm just speaking to your point,
Right.
could possibly come even close to $18.5 million.
Or that,
You know what I mean?
how I feel about that.
Right, I know, I'm just saying.
But to me, that has to be the first priority, is we have to get the proper people
Yep.
in there and come up with the price.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be maybe elevating the school, putting in islands, which is bizarre, the way we're even talking about it.
Mhm.
I think that number has to be first.
We definitely need to get that done.
Well, I would think we would start off with Frank Little, who knows these
No, I don't think
schools.
it's Frank Little.
I would disagree with
Absolutely not
feeling
Frank
like Frank Little, because we all agreed as a board to listen to the mayors a few years ago and hire him to come in and do the structural stuff. He came in and gave us a report, and then nobody liked the findings of the report, so.
Nobody on the board?
No, none of the nobody believed the findings of the report.
Oh.
Nobody believed that the school was in bad shape, nobody believed the condition here.
Yeah.
They still, like, go get the report, we went got the report, and then they didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And we put him in a difficult position, because he represents every town on this island.
Who's that?
Frank Little,
Oh, yeah.
it's a consulate.
He's the engineer. So I think it's really wrong to put him in that position.
Why don't we get
Bring an
someone-
outside
Yeah.
person to come in,
Well, let me make this suggestion.
and maybe a new architect.
They have recommended that we do get
Well, I've been talking about
professionals.
that for a while, but nobody ever listened.
But, I believe that because they do not have trust in our professionals, we cannot turn to either our architects or our attorneys to get the name of a person to do any of this work.
You should keep thinking about somebody, who's talking to other superintendents that have had work done. Eaglewood just went through a project, they have a great architect.
What we have to know, because I know at one point, and I can't even remember at what point it was, but there were decisions being made, and I wanna make this recommendation at this point. I don't want buildings and grounds involved in this at all. This has to be a board of the whole, because there have been times in the past where decisions have come out of buildings and grounds, and I am completely unaware of it.
I would really like to know what decisions have come out of buildings and grounds, because I keep getting.
Well, I have a better idea. Let's not argue about buildings and grounds.
I don't wanna argue about it, but
Right.
somebody keeps saying this, so I'm really curious as to what decisions came out of buildings and grounds.
Well, maybe when you have some free time,
Without full board approval.
make some notes of what some of these decisions were, and then we can talk about it.
Recommendations, they're not decisions.
Right. I'm fine, I agree, they are recommended, but I'm just saying, let's not get bogged down in that, let's stay up in the big picture, which is how to move forward based on what happened in that mayor's meeting. That's a good chunk of information, let's figure out what's going on with the LBI school. What else do we need that will help us? Go ahead.
My biggest concern about the whole thing is them saying that all the support they would get for us, for everything that we needed for the school.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the whole reason we're in this position is because the budget got voted down and we were told to consolidate to one school. So my biggest fear is that everybody gets this, this thought that we're gonna get everything we want
Right.
because the mayors are for two schools, and then it goes out to vote, and guess what? Our budget gets defeated and
Right.
our kids get swapped.
Well, I think that's a legitimate fear, but I think what we're at the beginning of is that arc. Because now the referendum happened, smackdown, right? So we said, okay, let's meet and see what we need to, so now we're at the beginning of a new arc. And we'll see, if we get to that point you're talking about, and we've brought the community in and we said, okay, let's do this together, and we're charting every step of it. If we get to the point you're talking about, and we come up with some reasonable numbers from some reasonable experts, and we set forth, here's what we think we need, and they say, no, we'll say, hold on, look at these minutes. Remember when you said, like, come on, we're not trying to, we're working with you. I'm not saying it won't happen, but I'm saying that the process we're at the beginning of now will prevent it from.
And then my other view is that I understand where they're coming from and why they would like us to do what we're gonna do, but I also, it doesn't correspond with what our administration feels our kids need.
Yep.
So for me, that's a huge conflict in my head of listening to what they want versus what the voters want versus what the school physically
Right.
needs. Because I would prefer, and I don't mean it with any disrespect,
Yep.
to listen to the professionals
Right.
in the schooling industry versus a mayor telling me, keep two schools open.
Oh, totally, we cannot.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you're totally right. The fact is, we can't have the mayors be the arbiter of what, you know what I mean? No, that's
I just, when you read this, it's like everything, it's like, well, we'll talk about this and then go talk to the mayors and find out if we get the approval.
Right, exactly, because that's what went on in the meeting. The minutes are a report of what was said in the meeting.
I
The
understand
minutes
that.
don't mandate what we do. That's just, that was the brainstorming session that we had. What you're saying, look, I wanted the one school. We went for the referendum, it got smacked down. The experts told us, this is what you should do, right? And initially, before I ever got to the board, those folks said, consolidate to one school, right? So we went down that path, and I thought the beautiful school that we designed was exactly the right idea. I still think, really, in a lot of ways, it's the right idea. I just feel that the referendum and everything we've learned subsequently, and the things that have been in the air about how difficult it will be to get there, if our mandate is to do what's best for the kids, I think getting stuck in a legal quagmire for 12 years is not what's best for the kids.
Right.
Right. So that's the only. I'm with you, in other words. Go ahead. I think that's what I'm saying.
I had 2 points I wanted to bring up. This business of checking back with them, that's their definition of our being transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Not asking for their approval, but just telling them, these are the things that we have found and we have come up with, and this is how we arrived at those decisions. And that's helping to heal that transparency split that we seem to have with them. Second thing is, when we get these numbers for fixing up the other building, one of the selling points for the renovations for this building was that we may be eligible to get 40% back from the state. And would we also be eligible to get 40% back for fixing up the other school? It would be a good thing to have that answer right away.
Yeah. Yes. Agreed.
But don't forget the 40% is of what the state per square footage is.
Right.
Not
what an architect.
An
would-
architect,
Yeah.
so you're not getting the full 40%
You're not
off
getting
the tab.
Right.
Depends on if the numbers line up.
Yeah.
And they didn't promise we would get it, but it's worth looking into.
Right.
Peter, when you first came, I made an appointment, and I think you were here for 3 days. And I came in and sat down and talked to you, and I said to you, we have been at this for whatever X number of years, this battle that we were going through, and I said, I didn't think it would ever happen, when we were spending oodles of money and everything going and never getting anywhere. And I asked you to come to the board and bring your suggestions, your proposals, your ideas, because we talked about ideas in that meeting. And you told me you could do whatever the board wanted you to do, that you were going to follow what the majority wanted. That was going to be how you approached this. And we talked at that meeting, and you said, you could, if it was 2 schools, you could get behind 2 schools, and you had this idea and that idea, and they were great ideas. I mean, they were involving the community in Manahawk and bringing kids over here, which after-school programs and sports things. You had a lot of ideas. It didn't happen because the majority was the majority. But I would like to see, you followed what the majority wanted. So when they're saying the administration gave the direction and the feeding of these ideas, I'm remembering my conversation with you where you were telling me you had ideas all over the place. So at that time, if this board decided to go with 2 schools way back when, you would have guided this district in a way that everybody would have agreed that this is great. We're going to do this. We're going to make these schools state of the art. But it didn't happen. So here we are now, and I cannot go along with this concept that because we are going to focus on 2 schools, that it's not something you would step up to the plate and work with to make them the greatest schools they can be. I mean, we talk about doing this, and this has been years of doing, of fighting this battle and fighting everybody. And, the money that we've spent, which there's been a lot of discussion on that, and they wanna blame the architect, they wanna blame the attorney. Well, I wanna put the blame right here. I wanna put the blame here, because we're making these decisions. And as long as we continue this fight, and we're gonna fight Cersei, we're gonna fight Shipon, we're gonna fight everybody, our legal bills are gonna go up because we need lawyers to fight these battles. Get out of this. Let's start over. Let's go right down to the bottom, and let's try to get ourselves out of this legal battle of wasting money. That is a waste.
Well, I don't know if we're in a legal battle, we're not in a legal
Well,
battle.
not in a legal battle, but we constantly are fighting and paying bills, and we're,
Well, we're actually not constantly fighting, we have conversations that get lively.
yeah.
But in
No,
terms
no,
of legal, in terms of legal battles, we're not.
I'm saying when we want to, address one issue or another,
Yeah,
that we cannot do it because we need the attorney's advice. But if we start refocusing and saying, and bring Peter into this discussion, and just say, how can we make two schools the best that they can be? And the mayors have said they'll support us. Let's take them at their word. Let's get out of where we've been for 8 years or whatever it is.
that's what we're doing, that's what we're
Yes,
doing.
but I don't know if, is that something that everybody is in agreement on?
Well, we haven't had an actual vote, but that's what I was talking about before with Colette about the process. Yeah.
But basically, that's what I'm saying, we have to start. And we
Yeah.
have to start with that building over
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
We have to start
And
with
then we have to
those.
go from there.
We have to start.
Yeah, and we will, and you know, but
We don't start with two, we have to find out first what one is gonna cost.
so.
That's the major one.
So do we need to, in order to begin gathering this kind of information, do we have to have some kind of vote where we say, let's hire, you know what I mean? I'm trying to, because I think we're coming to the middle on what this process looks like.
Right, right.
But I don't, I always think, oh, just make a phone call, and then you find out from a guy like this guy, oh, no, you have to fill out this form. You can't just make a call, you know what I mean? So,
So you can, the board can take a vote to authorize to go out to look for structural engineers for the LBI grade school, or if Peter knows some people or Megan knows some people, they can just bring it to the board, and the board can vote on whether or not they want to start negotiating for a
But I have a
contract.
question on that.
Sure.
Because basically, right now, we have an architect, and we have a program that we put together. We have to first walk away from that.
right.
Correct.
That's the first thing.
Yep.
Then we can go and get ourselves somewhere else. So there is a process that we have to
Right.
go through.
We also have to notify the state that we are no longer going to,
That's all part of that.
that was there were a number of separate things, am I right, Nick?
Correct.
That's what I mean.
This is all, it's all the same process though. You
Right.
terminate with the architect, the project, and you terminate with the state at the same time. And the state just gets copies on the letters.
And, when you terminate with the architect, is there a penalty?
And then we go on to another thing, another program.
Well, I don't know, I think.
It depends on
For what they've done.
what you
the
mean,
contract is.
what you mean by terminate. If you're terminating their whole contract, if you're terminating the project,
Well,
project,
running
the
the
project.
project.
Terminating the project.
you would do the contract with control, and I don't have a copy of it in front of me, so I can't tell you exactly
Well,
what
maybe
the penalty would be.
what is it saying, if we want to just walk away, we have to remove the program, at least.
Well, I don't know if you have to remove the program.
Because we're not gonna do the referendum.
Well, I guess the board would have to vote.
Vote on that we're not gonna pursue that,
But
Right.
they would have to vote to that they're not gonna do it.
which then stops his employment, doesn't it?
That would then, I would think that would necessitate,
Effectively.
yeah, that, the
Without a
discussion
pause.
in that contract.
I'd have to see the contract and
Yeah.
revisit it, of course.
So there's another thing we need to do. He needs to look at the contract.
So do we have to make a motion for him to look at the contract for us to figure out if we can get, if we can.
That's
if we
kind of
can
what
vote
I'm
to
asking.
stop
I
the
feel like I
project?
have to get a motion to go to the bathroom, so.
It's a motion for
Right.
You want the motion to take the contract?
Yeah, go ahead.
The last time we hit, a snag or a slowdown or something where the architect felt that we were not going to pursue the project at that time, they just simply sends the bill for what they had already done.
Right.
And that sort of, again, gave us a breaking point.
Did we pay that bill?
You better pay that,
But
but
we
we
have
have
to, we have to walk away from
Yeah.
the program.
Yeah, so you see what I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's,
It's a little more legal than that.
yeah,
But it's still gonna be
So
without
the next
cost.
step is, we have a meeting next week.
It might be
So
that.
between now and next week.
I
Yeah.
can get you an answer.
Right.
Can the contracts be looked at between legal, between Megan, and get that answer to know what that next step would be?
Right,
We
which
have to have a
Do we have to have,
No, you don't really.
We don't.
do we need a motion?
Okay.
Because we would be informed, and then if we have to make a motion, we would make that motion and vote on that next week when we have all that information. My second question is, I agree that we do need to have somebody, you know, a structural engineer come over, look at the LBI school, do a full inspection, all of that. But that is going to be a cost. And I know that's not a cost that's budgeted in this year's budget, so it's a monetary
These
question.
are the terms of what you're gonna discuss about that contract, so
Okay.
that's where Marilyn's getting at, to start at step one.
The step one of doing that and then the cost involved.
Maybe we can tap into the mayor for that cost.
Well, they said, I mean, they hinted that if we needed to go out for referendum, we could go out for referendum for these costs.
yeah, but so we still, in any case, we have to find out.
The issue was with the architect, we were paying the architect out of the referendum proceeds, we don't have referendum proceeds. To pay
Right.
the architect, the attorney has to look at the contract.
What else? Find specialist to assess LBI school, look at contract with architect.
Well, people who just used an architect for work, they were happy because they had, weren't they, Peter?
Eagleswood?
Yeah, I think the superintendent.
You talked to the superintendent.
Eagleswood.
So it's someone locally that has to use. Hamilton for that.
Okay, so we don't need an architect, we need a structural.
Well, we first we need a structural engineer, then if we do, then if we do need an architect to tell us what this would all cost, maybe the engineer would do that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, sometimes you still need somebody there.
Yeah.
We're gonna build or add or do some other kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
We need an architect and a structural engineer.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, you guys don't take
I would actually like to know, I have something to talk about negotiations. I just, on this thing, I just want to point out that, and Megan tried to explain it that night when the mayors were here, at how much oversight the school district has. Because one of their comments was, I gotta find it again, Long Beach Island Board of Ed should assess educational needs of students and convey costs to mayors for review and endorsement.
Yeah,
We have to go through the county and the state for that.
right. But I wouldn't get too bogged down on those words. The idea, I can tell you what the idea was just simply share with us, keep us in the loop. That's really what it was. It wasn't like, I don't think anybody at this table thinks that we have to come up and then go to the mayors and say, please,
Yes, oh, yes.
will you accept this? Nobody thinks that. But at least I don't think it. So, but I think what they were asking for is, hey, keep us in the loop. Let us know where things are going, because we want to help. A lot of the things that you want to hear, we heard. But it wasn't like we have to run the gauntlet. It was share with us, because it doesn't matter, even regardless of what I'm saying here, we all know what our mandate is to do what's best for the kids. We're a sovereign body. That's what we have to do. We don't have to run it by anybody, except, as you said, the state.
The county and
and the
state. I
county
mean,
and
they
state.
oversee everything.
Right.
They tell you when you're being bad, they tell you, okay, this is okay.
Exactly.
Then it goes up to the state.
Yep.
It's not like, willy-nilly, we can just spend.
Right.
And tax the taxpayers, because we got 2% cap, and the county looks at this, and the state looks at that. I mean, we are truly, the oversight on the state,
County level.
county, and federal level is unbelievable.
Yep.
I wanna add on to that, there's a line in there that says maintain your own rule.
Mhm.
That's not exactly how I would define home rule, but what Alan said is we have to try and hold on to what little bit we have, what few decisions that we can make on our own, and we have to hold on to that, and that's our home.
Well, that's also home rule.
Yeah, well, that's what makes our school belongs to this community.
Yeah. If there's not any more, discussion on this, we could move on to the other items.
Can I just say something? Because
Absolutely.
I listened and everybody makes some really good points. I just wanted to make sure that, well, not make sure, but I made a statement last time and I want to reissue that statement. I kind of feel our direction, we should come up with, a 6-year or a 10-year plan, something along that line where we should focus on maybe eliminating choice, maybe getting our classroom sizes to a more manageable size where we can fit into one school. So take our repairs to repair what we have to do, but maybe the repairs that we need to do for 10 years are not like the repairs we need to do forever. So maybe I'll come down on some of the repairs, just call it a Band-Aid if you will, but call it a 10-year Band-Aid so that we can fix up that school, get into that school, stay there for the time that we need to eliminate choice and then move into one school so that we don't have to
Run two
jam
schools.
kids in here and we don't need a big addition as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the mayors make some really good points. I'm not always the guy who agrees with the mayors, but they make some great points, and some of the stuff I agree with, and the stuff that we've had with our attorney and our architect, is the public sees that. We've had some problems with our architect, and we've had in the public, we've had some problems with our attorney. These are valid points to show our transparency. We need to, maybe rethink those relationships as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Along the same line, we already have a 5-year maintenance plan. I think it needs a little more meat in it than just
Exactly.
what we've been doing.
We should, and we shouldn't just say, okay, we need to do step 1 and step 2. We need to think about this whole process. We need to get on board together. Whether if I had my say, that's what I would be doing. I would be working in 7 years to eliminate choice to get the school size down to a one school solution, so that we don't need a big addition. So I mean
Just to.
That's what we're trying to do.
A quick addition to this, this has come up several years ago when I sat in your seat, strategic plan. And, there was a strategic plan, it was on our old website, it kind of expired 2009, I think, 2010. It was, yeah, or 2013. It came to be, it was a whole group of people. I remember Fran Waller sitting in the audience talking about it. I remember Bill Coons sitting in the audience because it was community members, it was, a couple board members, it was administration that met to do this. And we haven't, we've been bogged down with so many other things over the past several years that we haven't had a strategic plan. I brought it up, there was a cost involved, the school boards comes in and does a strategic plan. They can, there's a cost involved in that, but they can meet together with some board members, with community members, with teachers, possibly even with some older students, some 6th graders come in and come together and look at that 5 or 10-year plan of what we need to do. I know we need to make the decision right now of what we're going to do for next year, but that group, that small committee strategic plan can come together and bring those ideas, brainstorm and bring those ideas back to you.
But Jen, that was when we
Yep.
had an advisory committee,
I remember that.
and we had the mixture of everybody in the district. And I thought we had some great ideas that came out of that.
But then
And it was discontinued, which was a shame.
But it,
We didn't
not,
have
instead of
that.
being an advisory committee, make it a strategic planning committee, have a specific purpose to come up with that plan of a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. And then that strategic planning
What
committee
that
comes
was,
together.
that was because we were facing a
Well,
situation.
it was all the ideas
What
that
were
were
we
going
going
on.
to do?
So,
What were we going to go forward
kid then, really.
I know
No,
you were babies, but I brought you along.
But just a thought that we could,
Yes.
some sort of, I don't know whether, school boards can come in for something that's.
Right.
I think it needs to be much larger. I know you mentioned a small committee, but I think you need a much larger committee with much more representation from each town. I think you need to involve the police department, fire department. I think we need to look at any other local organizations that might want to attend, getting into staff, administration, parents. It's just more people are going to bring more ideas, and then you have somebody that's going to moderate or be there to actually take notes. And it wouldn't be just one meeting, 2 meetings. You would get 3 meetings over a session, over a few sessions that we want to bring this out. The New Jersey School Boards Association does it. I mean, there's other people that do it as well. I think it just needs to be a much larger committee, just given the sense of your consolidated vision.
And, I've had experience with 2 strategic planning committees. And basically, it was an overview strategic planning, but then there were committees, and there were meetings. It wasn't like you're gonna go on forever. It was a stated purpose, and there were divisions, like you said, health and safety, or building, or I forget now what they are. I might have one still at home if you go out in the flood. People would meet on the same night, but go to different meetings. And then 2, 3 of those, and then you come back with your plan, and then it's presented, each committee presents its plan. So is that the kind of thing you're talking about, Peter? Something like that?
It would be like an opener where you would actually talk about what your stated purposes are. You would break up the breakout sessions. Everyone can actually stay in the same room. You work at tables with large butcher paper. Pretty much write out your ideas individually, bring those ideas together, and break them down into 5 ideas that are major ideas for the group, and then you share all of those ideas by group with the larger committee, and then you start to assimilate or develop, 10 major points. And then your second meeting is into developing and quashing those points. And your third is for reporting. But it's a great opportunity. That way you have a lot of people coming out, and you just need someone there that's going to be able to step in the middle of it and try to get those pros and those cons coming out of the meeting and really define what it is that your purpose is at the end.
Okay.
We can talk about that more. I mean, I have a lot of ideas for us. We can talk about it more in the next meeting.
Which is coming in about 20 minutes, right? Next week. Yeah.
I think it's sad that, because we're a school district, with our children, that very often that is what is the focus when there is something that's presented that's going to cost money. That's always the focus of a lot of people. As to
Cost.
Cost and to turn it down, because it's the only time they have a chance. And I would really wish that a lot of our residents would start to look at their bills, their tax bills, to look at a library tax that exceeds the tax for our school locally. And then to look at the county tax, which is exorbitant, and look at what you are paying, and nobody ever goes to a county meeting and says, what are you doing with the money? We just had a situation where a freeholder was involved with harassment with someone that worked for him. Someone was paid $500,000 and retired, but we paid that bill. And it's time to look at your bills and see what you're actually paying for schools and what you're paying for the rest of the county.
I don't think so.
Well,
There was a question that came up about executive, so there was a big motion.
Oh, yeah. Well, should we cover these before we, unfinished business, new business?
We just,
that was,
we did that.
Oh, that was it?
The same?
Okay.
We don't have to take a vote, it just says we're going to go on.
Well, that we do have to do. Someone has to make a motion to go into executive session.
I would like a motion to go into executive session.
There it was.
Second.
what?
There it was.
Matters under negotiation.
Matters covered by attorney-client privilege.
Yes, those
And
matters.
negotiations.
Is that on this?
And negotiations, yeah, that's right there.
No, no,
No, I don't have it.
It is, it's on the agenda.
Number 7 on the agenda.
it's on the agenda, but I sent an email, I specifically asked, and I stated that because nothing was checked on there, our can I, once again, assume that there will be no executive session? Because nothing was checked on.
I think executive
I thought
session
that-
arise out of.
Yeah, that my understanding is that we can elect to do it on the spot.
That's what it is.
She may-
What is it that we're going into executive
It would be
session?
matters covered by attorney-client privilege and collective negotiations and/or negotiations of terms/conditions of employees of the BOE, right?
Yes.
I'm reading what it was to say.
By the way, I got no response.
Did you send it to me?
I sent it to you and I'm CC'd a number of people. Of course, I sent it out last week and nobody was around.
Oh, yeah.
But then
All bets are off now.
Saturday, Monday.
I don't think we have to. We did that back here. Oh, is there another one?
Usually we do, that's why I'm asking. They usually have them.
But if there's, but it's not, should we do that?
That's Maryland.
Oh, yeah, let's do the active motion, which is to go into executive session, so I think we need a roll call vote on this.
Are we not gonna read comments and questions?
It's not on the, if it's not on the agenda, I don't do it, but if someone wants, if we, someone can make a motion, but let's first finish this motion. Yeah, that's what we do. People interrupt me. I follow the agenda. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
I'm gonna abstain.
This is to go into.
Executive session after this.
But then we still can ask for public comment.
Yeah, yeah. We have to, someone has to.
Yes. Mrs. Becerra?
Yes.
Mrs. Raver?
Yes.
Mrs. Southwick?
Yes.
Mrs. Wazalewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott? Yes. Mr. Donovan?
Yes, with the understanding it won't go more than 30 minutes.
Shouldn't we have the audience speak before you go into executive session for half an hour?
Yes, that's what we're about to do.
We're not doing that right now.
But only if one of us makes
I'm
it.
I would like to
Make
make
a
a motion
Okay.
I will second that motion.
to go into public.
To have a public
Have
comment, yeah.
public comment.
Did someone second it?
I seconded.
Okay, so roll call, roll call it, please, Cameron.
Mr. Beebe?
Yes.
Mrs. Hartman?
What are we voting now?
To have a public comment added to the agenda.
Oh, absolutely.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mrs. Becerra?
Yes.
Mrs. Raver?
Yes.
Mrs. Southwick?
Yes.
Mrs. Wazalewski?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott? Yes. Mr. Donovan?
Yes. So, public. Board policy 1120 encourages the community participation in the meeting. However, the board requests the following from the public: state your name and address, direct all concerns to the president, limit speaking time to 5 minutes, and use of any pupil or staff member's name is not permitted. Anybody?
Mary Haskell, 259 South Second. I have a question, and I understand you guys went back to the mayor, and I understand where you're coming from, because no one likes to stand the battle, but I'm hearing things like, we're gonna go back and do another structural engineering report, and I know that costs a lot of money, and there was no money allocated even to make any more additions, which means you have to allocate money to do another report, and then make another plan from there. And the budget is already strapped enough as it is. Like the operational cost for next year is not, it's maxed out. So how is this going to affect the children and the programming for the children? They're literally running on what I would consider a vaporous budget, like an extraordinarily thin budget. That is maxed because of the operational costs of 2 buildings. I don't see where the money's coming from and how it's not going to affect the kids. Like if we had a massive budget, it wouldn't be an issue. You're like, okay, let's just do it again and double check. But you're going to do it again, and what program is going to have to get cut, or what's going to happen to what's going on with the kids? I'm really concerned about it.
Yeah, so am I.
So is that going to factor into decision making? Like, can you evaluate that before you say, let's go do this plan and go back to the mayor's with it? Because there's no money in the taxes right now
Well,
to even
The mayors have
pay
said
it.
they're going to.
yeah, what I think the short answer is that we're at the very beginning of the process. What Marilyn suggested there, first thing we're gonna do is look into the cost of doing it. The first thing we're gonna do is find out what the cost of parting ways with the architect would be. We're at the very beginning, I think pretty much everybody on the board has the same concerns that you do.
It's kind of like dismaying as a taxpayer, because the same over and over again, you're like, what is the cost to the children? At
Yeah.
what point, like, what programs are gonna get cut next year because we did another architectural and engineering report? Are we gonna see all the pet programs go? Is the swim program going? Are we gonna see bases disappearing? I'm sorry, it's very alarming.
Yes. What is it?
We have been at this for
8 years.
and we
hear
have
that all the time.
and we have.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I guess I'm not allowed, I have to, apparently I have to finish the conversation.
She
The,
talks.
But anyway, what she was saying was this has been going on for years, long before, I think quite a few of us were even here. This process has been,
I know, we're all aware of the amount
Yeah.
of money and time that's been spent, and I think we're just, at this point,
Frustrated.
it's gone on so long.
yeah.
We're going to see it affecting the programming, and we're gonna start seeing it affecting what's going on in our schools. It's
What-
extremely concerning as a parent and as a taxpayer, especially when you have administrators, which I know you guys say you're all board members and you're looking out for these kids, but they are the ones who are overseeing all of the kids, all of
Yeah.
the teachers, looking at resources, trying to staff appropriately, and if they are saying this is what we need to do, I just,
Well, what
it's
would
tough
you-
to say, okay, let's go back to the drawing table and see, and present it to the mayors again and try to get them to buy in.
Right, well, that's a little, but what would you do if you were on the board, just out of, since we're having this conversation?
What would I do?
If in light of everything that's happened, there's been 7 years of unending arguing about what to do. There was a referendum that was pretty definitive. What would you do if you were on the board?
To be honest, I think
Yeah,
that going into the referendum, I think there needed to be.
it doesn't matter, the referendum is behind us, it's done.
I think there needed to be extensive clarification on behalf of the board on the state of the finances of this district.
Yep,
I do not think that the taxpayers within these districts, and I don't think the mayors know the dire straits that the school district is in. In all honesty, no one does, because I know when we were getting ready going into the referendum, everyone thought, you know what, if we just vote it down, we'll cough up the money for over there. They didn't realize that the 2% budget cap meant there's no money, and that if we all stick it out in the next year, things are getting cut. So I think that like the need needs to be emphasized in a way that is so glaring that the mayors truly understand it, and that the taxpayers realize what's at stake. Because honestly, I think I don't want to say we, but I think you guys have tried to soften it to an extent, and I think you've also tried to validate everyone's input and everyone's opinion, but it hasn't demonstrated the glaring issue that is at stake at this point with the budget. So,
well, the question remains, if you were sitting on this board, what would you do?
I would go back to the mayors and say, we don't have money for this. It's going to impact our.
But that's the conversation that we just started with the mayors, that is the beginning of that conversation.
But you just said you're gonna go back and have another engineering report.
That's one recommendation, and that's, I think, a good one, is to figure out, is to get everybody on the same page about the status of that school. Because right now, you have totally different parties. You have some people saying, that school, you need to put a little paint job on it, it's gonna be fine. And then you have the group of people who are like, it's about to sink into the sea. So her suggestion is just to try to get to the bottom of it. Do you see what I mean? What we're emerging
But
from.
You don't have a report that says that already?
We have a report, but it is so disputed, there's a whole bunch of people who don't even believe it, right? What did we talk about that?
Never a major study done.
Yeah.
Well, I really thought we did do a major study, and then that's.
When was that study?
They gave us the, it started with an S, the company. They gave us the option of temporary shoring or the major shoring. And we went with the temporary, excuse me.
When was this report?
2 years ago.
4 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Okay, 3. And then we had the update on that,
Yeah.
and we temporary shoring it again.
Yeah.
That's how we got, I'm losing track where we are with shoring.
We just did that little shoring this past year, right?
But I think we're due again.
We were supposed to do it once,
Yeah.
or spend $1.5 million to do it the correct way.
Yep.
And we did the little way, the temporary, the Band-Aid to fix it. And then to be able to go back in there again the following year, we had to have it relooked at, but there were some things that we could take care of, so we had to
Yeah.
pay to have it relooked at. So
And each
in order to
time-
do it next year, each time we have to pay an engineer.
But each time we went out, it was higher than what had been predicted. And that's why we got slammed with how much we ended up having. We went out to bid, nobody took the bid, so we had to
had to go again.
Yep.
And we paid, what, 3 times the amount for the temporary flooring
Yep.
that we thought we were gonna have to count? We
Yep.
thought it was a
But
huge-
just one last thing to your point. I think what we're trying to do here is change the status quo. It was not working. Whatever was happening was not coming together in any kind of meaningful way. The referendum put the icing on that cake, put the dot on that I. So I think the idea is not it's not that we are effectively going to the mayors and saying, hey, we're in a bad situation here, but we're now trying to do it with a different sort of atmosphere around it. Instead of them not trusting us and being angry at us and people were making a bunch of bad decisions, we're saying, okay, guys, let's all start on this together and figure it out moving forward together. So there's not this antipathy from the very beginning, which makes everything worse, as we've all seen. You know, there's so much bad blood floating around that, you know, it's made the process, which is already a big
I just
mess.
feel like time is, we're in it's like the time frame here for decisions, and it
Yeah.
just, as a parent, it makes you extraordinarily.
I am a
nervous.
parent, and I agree. I agree. I'm
And we're watching
operating.
all this play out in the papers, and it's rough, because the mayors are being very vocal about this unsafe the school, and I was like, I mean, it was to the point after that election, wanted to be like, do you not like children?
Yep.
I mean, it just got to the point.
But hold on, I'm sorry, you went way over your 5 minutes, and I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Just kidding. Go ahead.
We gave you emotional.
Huh?
Yeah.
We will motion to have her go now. Well, we have to move on though.
But you let Alan and Colette talk, and I have my hand up. I really, excuse me.
Hey, no, we're not doing this, we're not doing this.
I really want to say something that I.
Wait, just one second. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll sit down and let Bonnie do it.
I want to address to you and try to reassure you that the mayors, they don't want to pair anyone. They sat around, excuse me, Marilyn,
Hey,
they sat around the table and they wanted to reinforce it over and over again. We are not the bad guys. Go do your list. Go do what you need. Come to us. We'll help you and we will support you. They're tired of getting the heavy look that people are giving them, that we had this battle going on with Ship Bottom, Sur City, and
Did you see
whatever.
the fancy one, the resolutions and the.
Yes, they
and
put those in
it's
there,
appalling.
but they're now coming to
Now
us.
they want to do an about face, it's hard. I mean, you get a very bad taste in it when you see an entire town council put in adamant, like, saying we vehemently oppose anything supporting the school, and then you see resolutions published over and over and over again.
Right.
I don't have a warm, joyous feeling in my heart for these towns right now.
I know,
I'm sorry.
but at this point, we met with the mayors and in good faith, we have to take them at their word. We're going to go down this process. Anything has to be better than what we've been doing. And as far as what you're saying about programs being cut, I don't think they want us to cut programs. So I'm not going to be sitting here and have Megan come to us and say, we've got to cut this program or that program. I would say go back to them and let's see what we can work out.
exactly. In fact, to speak to your point, that is one of the things. We will be holding them to their, you know, all of the goodwill part in that meeting was that, hey, you guys, we're not for this $18 million school, but you come to us with curriculum needs, student needs, and I'm telling you, we'll make that
I
happen.
could never respectfully vote for anything that's gonna cut a program next year.
Exactly.
If it's structural repairs versus, you know, after-school activities
Right.
and things that the kids need, I
Exactly.
would never vote for that.
Exactly.
Only for what the kids need,
Right. Everybody's gonna put that paramount.
hopefully.
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Bill Hudson. I'm not speaking as president of the Joint Council Taxpayers Association tonight because we didn't get any, we had too many issues at our last meeting, so I'm speaking for me, Bill Hudson, I live in Holgate. I heard what this nice lady said, and I can tell you her frustration level and the frustration level in the public is extremely high. We spent $750,000 on architects and attorneys. We still have 3 sunshine laws or whatever broken and paid fines, yet we have an attorney. Maybe we don't need the attorneys, maybe we don't need the architects, then we have $750,000 to spend on schools. I hear what Bonnie said, and I know the mayors are listening and want to help, but they don't want to keep hearing the same stuff every month. I came last month, we made good progress. Tonight, 2 or 3 people said, let's vote on this, and you guys sort of tabled it and went out of it. So now you're going to go into executive session and talk about some things when you should have had that vote tonight to move forward. Okay, which Bonnie brought up. You
should have went around and made that vote. You're gonna have 2 schools, you're gonna move forward on those schools. All right, not talk about another month or 2. That's where the frustration is. It goes on and on and on every month. We don't make progress in meetings, meaningful progress. And now we know we're gonna have 2 schools. All right, we have reports. There's at least one report telling you what's wrong with the building. Why do you need another report? There's reports up to yin-yang you guys have. You need to follow some of these reports. You know, are you rid of an architect? That's easy. As she said, pay him his bills, he's done. We don't need to keep discussing and discussing and discussing everything ad nauseum for meeting after meeting for 8 years. Make decisions, let's get them done. Thank you.
It's like you don't know how bureaucracies work, Bill. They bog down and they slow to a halt.
You could have had the
and-
vote tonight.
Yeah, well, we did, but let me just tell you, in terms of, we didn't need to have a vote on the 2 things we talked about, because it was stuff that he has to look into. Yeah.
The reason we have to go for another report for the structure, the structural integrity, is because there's a river running underneath it that keeps scouring out. So just because we got the report, the major report 3 years ago, and then we got the update, it's constantly changing and it's not getting better. That's why we have to keep checking. And that's the biggest problem, that is the big problem with LBI. We have a riparian river that runs underneath it. It's constantly scouring out the pilings that are underneath. We were told that when we had them fixed in 1990s, I can remember the exact date. Prabhu Patel was the architect then. And we were told this is going to recur because of the situation with the riparian river underneath the building. That's why, Bill, we have to keep going out, because it does keep changing. It's not a static thing.
Well, then let's fix it the long term. Like Tom said, for a 7-year plan or a 10-year plan, Tom made a lot of sense tonight. You know, get a plan, fix it for that long a period, get rid of choice, slim the schools down, and then there's other things that can be done.
Bill, you don't come up with a 7-year plan in 45 minutes on a Tuesday night. That's what, you saw a lot of progress last month. Now there's not as much. Next time you'll see more. You act like, let me tell you something, I watched this freaking board for the time my son was in kindergarten all the way through, and I was pulling my hair out. I was so frustrated with these people. I was like, these people should all be shot, right? Not really. But okay, no, I'm telling you, because I'm a parent and I suffered through it. And I was like, I'll get on that board and I'll see what's going on and I'll figure it out. Let me tell you, it's not easy to figure out. It's a real hard slog. And there's differing opinions on the board. There's the community. It's total chaos in a lot of ways.
James, it's 8 years.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, what we're trying to do, the progress you saw, whenever it was you saw progress, and now you're frustrated you don't see it tonight. It is not some, hit the button and then everything turns into flowers. It's a long freaking process. And as I said to Colette before, we're at the beginning of trying to fix that last 8 years. Nobody wants to spend money, like Colette just said. We're not going to vote for stuff that's going to take stuff away from the kids. We're trying to reset and move forward. And it's not, you're going to see moments, you're going to see 2 steps forward and 3 steps back.
Can we even afford to be in 2 schools next year? Those are things we have to figure out. I can't physically vote to say, let's go to both schools for next year when I don't know what the costs are and what's going to happen to programs and things like that without having a little information in front of me. I'd love to make that decision if all that stuff's in front of me.
Yep. And that thing you said, oh, just vote for 2 schools. And it's like, maybe that's going to happen, and maybe it'll happen soon. But we can't just, this was the first report about what the mayor's meeting and everything. I feel you, because I feel the same thing. I'm just telling you.
We just don't want to go through another 8 years. You can feel her frustration. There's hundreds of people. There's hundreds of people around have that frustration or more.
Yep. And I'm one of them.
I have probably far more frustration than she has.
Yeah, we have the same frustrations that she has. Plus, we have to sit and haggle about it for 8 years. Only a year and a half ago I've been president.
Barbara Bishop.
Hi.
I live in Chip Bottom. I have a question that I hope somebody can answer for me. Do your teachers work under a contract?
Yes.
Do they have a cap on the number of students in the classroom in that contract?
I don't know.
Is it our policy?
Yeah, that's
The board has a policy.
The board has a policy, but it's not in the contract. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
The other thing I'd like to say is that I think that your whole problem with explaining choice to people was explained here at a meeting. It was actually a big meeting in another room where someone said the teacher gets paid a salary whether she has 2 students in the classroom or whether she has 12 students or 15 or whatever your board mandated number is. So the fact that that amount is constant, that's what she gets paid, she gets paid. So having choice students come in to fill those empty seats makes money for you. That was explained to me. That's when it clicked in my head. That's how I think you should approach that.
Yep.
So people who say, get rid of the choice people because it costs us money, I don't see, the only way it costs you money is that you have the toilets flushed more often. You know, yet you maybe have to buy more paper for them, but you're getting money for that.
Yeah, it's the airplane seat analogy that someone
It should be
made.
mentioned that the choice parents and the choice kids bring a lot to our school.
Yes.
They bring a lot of involvement and a lot of,
Yeah, I
they
don't,
really step up.
yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I think to explain it to people who think that it costs money,
Right.
that that's just a way to describe it to them.
Right, and right after that person made that point, someone stood up and said, it's not an airplane, it's a school. Remember that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But to me, that's when it clicked.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who did explain that to you? Who was?
I believe it was in a public meeting.
was in
It
the
was
gym,
in the
yeah.
gym.
Yeah.
I
We explained
believe
it. Someone
that's
asked
when it
and we
was.
explained it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have one other
Probably
thing.
you explained it.
I have one other thing. I know Jennifer's going off, that Ship Bottom has a new person coming on. Are there other people that are going off with new people coming on after the election?
What are the results? I know that one of the results is not clear, and then someone is.
Oh, that's right, there was one that was real
Georgine's
close.
on. Yeah. Jen is leaving, and we
Surf
don't
City
have.
was a tie,
Yeah.
so now we don't know what's gonna happen. So there may be somebody new, there may not be.
Runoff election, huh?
Yep.
There was a hanging Chad, apparently.
There was.
Thank you.
I was just thinking that, you know, you're nearing the end of the year, those people come in January.
Right.
Right? That, you know, you're gonna have a lot of, if there's a lot of, well, at least one, maybe 2 people coming on new, you know, how do you get them up to speed?
There's an initiation.
Yeah.
We have a
Going
pass.
Shake down the parking lot.
On the choice,
I don't know who you are or where you're from.
Oh, jeez.
Stacy Gissinger, Bottom.
That's better.
Sorry. Going off on the choice, I was a big believer in choice. Roger Kruger had said, you know, fill an airplane seat. Well, then I started talking to taxpayers. They have a problem, which is why I think they kept bringing it up, is you're sort of selling an empty airplane seat, right? That's the whole purpose. You're getting money in. But they have a problem with building a school for a choice. You're including them in your choice student numbers. So you're selling a discount seat at a premium price.
Right.
That is their issue with the choice student. I think they're fine with filling seats as long as it's okay, but you don't build something to it.
But you know, we had,
Yes.
we had a population.
That's absolutely correct.
We had a population density survey, what, 2 years ago, when we were in this process. And it indicated the numbers, and we weren't building the addition, to make sure that choice was always included. It was based on the numbers that we were going to have, and also based on the policy that Long Beach Island's always had as far as class size. So we weren't, you know, the whole concept wasn't to build a bigger building for choice. Choice is just to, if you have smaller classes and you have a class of, I don't want to get in trouble with numbers, but say you have a class of 42. No, this is going to work out. You have 21 and 21, because 42 for this district would be too much, say for 3rd grade or 2nd grade, 1st grade. So you're going to have 2 classes anyway, but you might have 1 or 2 students come in. It doesn't cost anymore.
You know, and I know you understand that, but the population thing that
But
you
that's
had
why I'm
done.
trying to tell you that they're thinking you're
Right.
building a new school for,
Yeah, and that wasn't the
when
intent.
it's very close.
We were
If you
cognizant.
didn't have choice, it'd be very close to fit in one school without an addition.
Well, we were cognizant of the
But that's,
population
you know, I'm
survey.
just telling you, because I called,
Yeah, no, I understand,
trying to give you what they're, you know, thinking.
Right.
Alan, we were also going from 2 schools to 1. That was the difference.
Yes.
So we were not building for choice students.
Any more questions? Thank you, Stacy.
Hi, Steve Moser, Ship Bottom. I had the pleasure of speaking with a veteran from your board a couple days ago. He was on back in 1983, and I don't know, was anybody on back then? And he had indicated that there was a time when the population of the school district dropped, and you actually were closing off or considering closing off a section of the EJ school
That was a possibility at that time.
a while ago. And then suddenly, years after that, there was a population spike back on the island again with children coming in. And I'm just speaking to that because we're talking about these demographic analysis and reports we are getting. Well, back then in '83, they said, you know, it's declining, we need to close down part of the school, and all of a sudden we had a spike in population. I think we need to sort of take that into consideration when we're looking at the two-school program, because let's say we're down now, who's to say 4 years down the road we don't have another spike coming on? We have 40-some homes coming into Holgate. 41. I think, you know, we shouldn't throw away our second building until it's too late. The second thing I wanted to talk to about is, it's my understanding from the mayor's meeting that it was disclosed that the most current engineering report doesn't specifically state that the LBI school is not inhabitable for next school year. There's not a time stamp, or that it's not, the shoring that's been done is not a temporary.
Discussed in the mayor's meeting that I can recall.
Because I have a pamphlet that your board most certainly handed out, and I was here the night they voted on it, said that the regardless of the referendum, the LBI school will close at the end of the 2017-2018 school year. And that seems to be a bit of misinformation if in fact the report...
That was a gotcha moment right there.
But we
I
can
know.
talk about it in the meeting, so you're referencing it two different
Yeah,
points
we
right now.
didn't
But
discuss
you
it.
had all but three people. Ms. Beccaro was not in, Georgine voted no, and you voted no. Everyone else approved to hand this out. And it came to me at my back to school night. It was laying on my student's desk when I came in.
Yeah.
So I just want to, you know, you're talking about distrust and how the mayors distrust you and what's coming out. I think we need to be a little more transparent on the information, being more clear on it, and as to where the money's coming from. If in fact the school can be fine for another school year, can we put off this engineer's report and keep those monies in the children's area rather than expending them on an engineer's report if we can get another year out of what we have sitting there now?
Yeah. We'll have to figure that out.
Thank you.
Wasn't the finance guy here last week and said there was a surplus for next year?
The finance, you mean the auditor, right? Yeah. That was a long time
I'm
ago.
pretty sure he said he.
You're saying the auditor said what?
There was a surplus for next year, right?
That
Yes,
sounds
the
great.
surplus though, but it's not that, the surplus is designated to pay back FEMA, which we have an expected payback of upwards of $1 million.
Oh, I thought
So
it was
that
half a
surplus-
million. I
Okay,
thought they were taking back the callbacks.
I can't hear you.
I thought they were,
It's not a callback.
oh, it's
We
not?
don't fall in that category.
Oh, okay.
Right, so it's a different situation that LBI is under, which we did discuss at several public meetings. That LBI had, during the FEMA period of time, had submitted to FEMA and insurance and got paid twice. And has
I
to pay
remember that,
back.
but it was only $500,000 last time I.
No, that wasn't what it was. It was $500,000 was already set up as a liability, and there's another $500,000 in question. Upwards of, that's $1 million. That's what we had explained. There's two separate projects.
Okay.
One was the modulars, and one is the LBI. So, I mean, you might have heard about the one project, that this happened to both be near the same amount, 492 and 498 or something. And there's a couple of small other ones. So the one we set up a liability for, and that has been established. The other one we don't. So the surplus is what we have been working towards trying to run as lean as we can since I've come aboard to try to find money in the event that we can't mitigate the payback. We've been working, the auditor in my office has been working to mitigate the payback on the second. The first one is definitely owed. The second one, we've been working towards that. We've mitigated part of that so far, and we're continuing to work on that, trying to reduce that payback amount. That adds to some of the financial problems of the district, and we've explained this at meetings. It just does not help the situation here at all.
Not contentious at all, just to answer. The temporary shoring that's there right now, it's only approved till the end of June, correct?
I think that's right, isn't it?
Well, it doesn't have a definitive date like June. The temporary shoring, the letter that we received after doing the shoring said it would be fine to use it for another school year. We're just
This
doing
year.
it,
The one we're in.
yeah, because the school year is, the school year.
And then
So-
they need to come out and they need to inspect again.
Right, so then we'll just have that engineering firm come out and inspect. I think their fee was $900. And they come out and they inspect the temporary shoring which was put in place. And what they do during that is they go all through the building underneath and they inspect the temporary shoring that's in place to see if it still has integrity, what integrity is lost. Goes to Alan's point before about what some of the issues we have going on under the school. And they then check the integrity engineer to see what repairs need to be made to that shoring. If there's any other damage, not even to the shoring, but that if they notice other damage under the building because of the situation of the school. And they then they will report again and let us know if the temporary shoring needs repairs, or if they determine that they found any other issues. That's the purpose of it. So if we say it gets us through the school year, they have to come out again to do another examination somewhere in the spring, for us to then build in time for any repairs or anything, if that were something the board chose to do for another issue.
But as of right now, you guys have not budgeted for any further,
Studies,
repairs.
assessments, repairs.
Right, so that's not, as of right now, that's not there. So you guys will have to vote that in based upon whatever report you have.
Whatever the.
No, the shoring repairs come under maintenance, like last year it was $18,000.
We have an allotment.
So that comes under the general operating budget. So it's not something that has to be voted in. It's something that, if it falls under that same kind of category, it's addressed through the budget and that means.
Either talking
It
before.
doesn't have to be voted in and it's allocated through the general budget, if it's that kind of repair. If they, for some reason, went under that building, if they found something really substantial, that's a different predicament. We do have capital monies that, for maintenance, that you could try to go into. That is a little more complicated for us in that that goes to the problem of the referendum not passing. If the board is now considering making any changes to some kind of professional contracts, that might have to, we might have to address money in our capital part of our budget to address contracts, where normally that money is there to address things like that. If the shoring is an issue, we can take from capital to address that. But if the board is gonna consider other things in that part of the budget, now that might address, that money might be taken for that. So, this is not a matter of not being transparent, it's a matter of the board not even examining what options they wanna take. And there are some, available options for them within the budget, but then one option might eliminate monies for something else.
Any other questions? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Executive session.
Oh, did we just do that?
No.
All right. So,
We have to say whether or not action is.
yeah, that's right, that's right.
How would we know?
Yeah, exactly.
Look, action may be taken.
I used to say exactly what you're saying.